can join place where I work as a faculty. You can join the Zoological Survey of India, the Botanical Survey of India, or government vets. Most of the national parks and sanctuaries have veterinary positions with them, where they need veterinarians to actually manage the wildlife. So that's another venue with the government. Several NGOs in India actually employ people. Okay, these are the Wildlife Trust of India, Wildlife Protection Society, Worldwide Fund for Nature, the Bombay Natural History Society, Nature Conservation Foundation, and there are at least about 100 such organizations, I have not listed all of them, which employ professional wildlife biologists to do work for them. Internationally, you can work for WWF International, the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, Wildlife Conservation Society, Nature Conservancy. These are all based abroad. This is in New York, this is I think in San Francisco, Royal Society for Protection of Birds based in UK, BirdLife International. World Bank has a lot of opportunities for wildlife ecologists. You can join that as a UN jobs as well. These jobs used to be for people who could afford them, okay, earlier. Very ill paid, there's not money to be made, but that has changed in the last 10 years. When I joined this profession, it was a meager salary I used to make. But now my salary is substantial. I won't tell you how much it is, but I'm very happy with what I get. In fact, I'm better than most people, okay? So, but I'm quite senior. But when you start off, again, today the government jobs are very well paid. There is no scope to complain because I think we are good with anybody. If you compare us with Nepalese or Bhutan or Bangladesh or any other country around us, the pay scales in Indian government service are far better off than any of our neighbors. You can do a lot of other stuff as well to make money, like environmental impact assessment. Now this is crucial for most industries which come up today. The laws, the legislation in our country is so strict, and most of our ports are extremely green. So without doing a good environmental impact assessment, most permissions are not granted to any industry or any development project to come across India. So there's a lot of scope to make consultancies and make money out of this. Okay? So I wouldn't say that's a very highly paid job, but it is a good job to make a decent living and of course have a romance with nature throughout your life. Okay, so that's where I end. Thank you very much.
My name is Pratik Wader and I am from Modi School, 11th standard from Rajkot. Sir, for counting population of tiger, sir, how far is it accurate?
There is going to be an error. You want to make this error as small as possible. But in our case, it's about 200 plus or minus.
And sir, for
studying in Delta School, Rajkot. Sir, the milk of cow is vegetarian or non-veg?
It's a non-veg product because it comes from an animal. But you don't kill anything to eat it, so there are no ethical issues of drinking milk.
My question is, you say that the wolves in India are 1 million years old, and so...
Older than the others.
Yeah, older than the others. So how do we know about their ages? Like how we find the age of wolves?
Absolutely interesting. Very good question. See, what we do is when you look at the wolves and the dogs of the world, they differentiated about 150,000 years ago. Okay? Till then they were the same. Now our wolves are 1 million years older. So you look at the mutation rate of mitochondrial DNA, especially this region of cytochrome B which I showed you. So if you know the mutation rate and the number of mutations that have occurred between that and the wolf-dog clade, you can actually time the time of divergence between those clades. So mutation rates which are calibrated with fossil records allow you to do this calibration of a time scale. Of course there are very large error margins on it, okay? But that's how you estimate.
My question is, won't there be any adaptation problem when animals are brought from other continent to some other country?
I think you're asking in terms of the cheetah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely right. There would be adaptation problems, but the issue is that what kind of adaptations? See, most carnivores depend on prey. Suppose you're bringing in a vegetarian animal, for example rhinos, okay? They eat very specific plants. If those plants are not found here, then you'll have a hard time. They'll have to learn to eat other plants. But for carnivores, the adaptation is mostly based on the food availability. And it's much easier to move carnivores than herbivores. But that has to be taken into consideration. The point which you said is very crucial.
So my question is, recently Australian government imported some cane toads from Hawaii Islands to control the population of beetles infesting the crops there. So now they are implementing a policy to control the population of cane toads. So what went wrong there?
It can have repercussions which you had not thought of. That's the issue which went wrong with the goats, because the goats are eating up the vegetation, which is endemic to that area, and many other endemic species are dependent on that.
I just wanted to ask, like, first human being, not human being, our ancestors, Ramapithecans and Dryopithecans, right?
Okay.
So, like, what made changes in them that we are like that, and they were like apes and ancestors? So, what were the changes? Are that only the natural selection? Means that made them change like that, or why are we not like them? Means like they were whole.
Would you like to be like them?
No, not really.
Absolutely not. Right. Animals which are fitter leave behind a larger amount of progeny than animals that are not fit. So animals which had higher intellect than Ramapithecus, than Australopithecus, left behind more children. Okay.
I'm studying in Christ College. As you have shown in the slides that different methods, how you study these stripes and all that satellite sensors, isn't it affect the animals?
Yeah, it definitely does. But as I told you, if you load these animals with overweight, okay, then of course it's going to affect them.
I wanted to ask, we have heard about animals, they are getting signals about any natural calamities before it happens. Is it true or is it just rumor?
I could record what that hyena was doing 10 minutes, 1 hour before the earthquake and after the earthquake. And I had that information, and the hyena was fast asleep in its den, and it didn't know that the earthquake was coming. No, seriously. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and the earthquake struck, and after the earthquake struck, it came out of its den. So I do not have any information, because these animals live subterranean. So if any animal was to know, this animal should have known. But it did not know. But this is a sample size of 1.
So we should take it as just rumor.
Yeah.
I would take it as an anecdotal evidence, okay, which is a hypothesis which you need to prove in your lifetime. It's a good research topic to take up.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome.
Purva from Dhulukia School. Sir, as far as we are concerned about the endangered species or the extinct species, sir, some amount of species, such as only 15 to 20% of them are left. So, sir, why don't we clone them to have a very huge amount, although we won't be getting a desired quality, so but we have a vast area for there to research.
Excellent proposition. It's 3 years with its mother, learning how to hunt and how to live. Okay? And then it can survive in the wild. Okay? The other issue is tigers, you can reproduce them in captivity like chicken, you know. Basically, they're very good at reproduction. So you want that interactions with other species as well. That can only happen if you have intact forest ecosystems with natural processes occurring as they were intended to occur by nature. So that's the best form of conservation you want on the face of this earth. Otherwise, you can have a cryopreservation freezer. Okay? No need to have wild tigers. You can keep them in the freezer, store them for 10,000 years, bring out the freezer and have a clone. You'll have tigers available then. So that's the condition. But worst case scenario, what you are suggesting is a very important form of preservation.
As you said that every animal has a different identity. Like tigers has different strips. So how can we identify the specific identity of specific animal?
If you have markings on the body, most body markings on animals are unique. Okay? You say the number of individual life forms on earth is constant.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so. But that's your belief and my belief.
જૂમાં બધા પ્રાણીઓને લઈ આવે છે તો તેના ઉપર કશું પ્રોસિજર કરીને લઈ આવે છે કે જેમ તે સામાન્ય રીતે જીવતા તેવી રીતના જૂમાં લઈ આવે છે.
ઝૂ જેટલા દેશમાં છે એની માટે તેને નિયમો ગોઠવેલા છે. એ નિયમોના અનુસાર જ તે ઝૂનું મેનેજમેન્ટ થાય. એટલે જે આપણે ઝૂના પ્રાણીઓ આવે એને અમુક જાતના વેક્સિનેશન હોવા જોઈએ, અમુક જાતની પેડિગ્રી હોવી જ જોઈએ, એને એક્સચેન્જ કરવાના નિયમો છે, એ બધા નિયમોથી જ તે ઝૂનું પાલન થાય છે. એટલે હેપહેઝર્ડ નથી. તમે અહીંથી જનાવર લઈ જઈને ઝૂમાં મૂકી આવો અને ત્યાં રાખે એવું નથી.
Sir, why the wildlife sanctuaries of different states are being differentiated? Why they are not being united all over the country?
See, our wildlife being a state matter.
વર્ષો થયા અને ત્યારે આપણે માણસો જંગલમાં રહેતા હતા અને એમાંથી અત્યારે આપણે આટલું રહીએ છીએ તો એટલીસ્ટ આપણામાં જ ઉત્ક્રાંતિ થઈ પણ આપણે જે એન્વાયરમેન્ટમાં ચેન્જ કરતા હતા તો એની સાથે બધા જે પ્રાણીઓ છે સિંહ વાઘ એ બધાએ પણ એમાં વિકાસ કરવા માટે ટેવાઈ જવા જોઈએ ને
બીકોઝ કે એમને એવું જેનેટિક કોન્સ્ટિટ્યુશન જેટલા તમે સ્પેશિયલાઇઝ થાઓ ને આગળ જતા એવોલ્યુશન દ્વારા એટલું તમે એડેપ્ટેબિલિટી તમારી ચાલી જાય.